Back in 2010, the mayor's office appointed and City Council ratified a stakeholder task force of citizens and business owners along 38th Avenue to look at 38th Avenue as our redevelopment corridor. It's always been considered our main street, and we have adopted several plans looking at the future for 38th Avenue. 30 years ago, 38th Avenue was a two-lane road, and a lot of businesses thrived along the corridor at that time. And since then, the street was expanded from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. The road diet and the 38th Avenue plan is a look at how we can actually redevelop the 38th Avenue corridor, not take property, and see if we can help promote our local businesses with more pedestrian access, more friendly access for all of the businesses along 38th Avenue.
I want people to think differently as far as businesses on 38th Avenue. How can we reach out to different customers instead of waiting for them to come drive by and just so happen to see your business? Let's get them interested in coming to 38th Avenue. Reach out to the people that live just right down the street and get them to shop here.
We've just been here a long time. I've been here since 1964 as the owner. I came to work here in 1959, so I've been here a long time. My vision for 38th Avenue has been kind of sad here for so many years. It's been so stagnant. I know there's a lot of people that would love to see it stay just like it is, but we just can't do it anymore. We need to really jump out and do some things necessary to revitalize 38th Avenue and Wheat Ridge.
We've heard the phrase through the planning process, 38th Avenue is currently something you drive through and not to. And we want to reverse that and make 38th Avenue the corridor that people drive to and not through.
As a resident, I want to have many places along 38th Avenue that I can take my friends and hang out, spend time, have a drink, enjoy dinner, and be very proud of the place that we call Wheat Ridge.
A more walkable, a more bikeable, and a more complete corridor.
I think the best thing we can do, for instance, this summer, is to create an atmosphere of excitement and anticipation for a great future for people who drive down the corridor or walk down the corridor and say, you know what, something's happening here.
We don't want to just be a place that you go through. Our residents want a sense of who we are and a gathering area.
Well, in 2009, the city updated its citywide comprehensive land use plan called Envision Wheat Ridge. And one of the key recommendations out of that plan was areas in the city that we should be targeting for redevelopment. And 38th Avenue between Sheridan and Wadsworth was one of those areas that was identified through that process.
We are here to look at 38th Avenue between Wadsworth and Sheridan. This is the study area that we're focusing on.
We had an extensive public outreach process. We had a stakeholder committee that was appointed by the mayor with about 20 members. And that committee included property owners, business owners, residents that lived in close proximity.
Identify a vision for your Main Street, identify sub-districts, and take a look at the possibility of a road diet or narrowing the street in a section along 38th Avenue between Wadsworth and Sheridan.
It's always interesting working in groups with residents and business owners. You have a diversity of ideas and opinions, but yet some strong themes have already emerged, and that's really encouraging that there can be consensus about how we want to see this corridor transform.
If we're going for a certain look, that's the most appealing. That's going to be the most visible.
Amenity zone is the leading priority. On-street parking would fall as the second priority.
You don't want to park a block away, 2 blocks away to go get your car done.
I felt it was important to get involved in the process, and I just think it's a very important component to a community to have a heart or a center, and Wheat Ridge has been missing that for a long time.
Things like increased sidewalk widths, what are called curb bulb outs that widen the area of a curb to increase pedestrian activity.
We meet with the stakeholders first to walk through some of the initial ideas that we have as a team and then present them to the public. And so how do we create that environment on 38th? And that's what we want to talk about tonight.
We are at the second public meeting for the 38th Avenue Corridor Plan. We're here tonight asking people for input on some alternative roadway designs. Essentially what these designs are looking at is the possibility of removing a lane of traffic on either direction on the street. And in place of that, being able to add some amenities that aren't there today, such as street trees or on-street parking.
Potentially narrowing the street, taking away a lane of traffic, helps increase the safety, helps reduce accidents, helps reduce the speed of travel along the road, which helps improve conditions for pedestrians, and even more so, it improves the economic vitality of the street. The next steps after this will then be shifting to the private realm. So some of those initial ideas that came out from the public, we will also use in the next step moving forward. We're just making sure that we're taking everything one step at a time in terms of explaining it to the public. We're going to walk through basically where we are in the process. As was mentioned, this is the last meeting. Tonight's meeting was the third of 3 public meetings for the 38th Avenue Vision Plan Corridor Planning process. And tonight, we basically is the culmination of the process, which started in January. There were 2 main purposes of this project and the planning effort. One was to do basically a feasibility analysis of doing a road diet or potentially narrowing the street on 38th between Wadsworth and Sheridan. So that was the first point of the study. The second point was to create a vision for 38th Avenue as your main street. We focused tonight on presenting basically the vision for both the public realm or the street as well as the private realm redevelopment long term for the corridor. And then we started talking about some of the costs to do this, as well as the implementation strategy on how are we going to get it done over time. Historically, basically the area somewhat between sort of Vance and Upham and then over to Pierce or Newland, that area historically has always acted as the community's main street. And that's really where we found a good synergy of existing buildings, existing retail uses that really have that walkable Main Street feel. You are really an urban community. You're not a suburban community. And so you should have a downtown. And typically main streets are within your downtown.
Those meetings were really essential to the planning process because getting the public input was key. We were able to bounce ideas off the public, and they really helped inform some of the main ideas that you find in the plan.
And really what we heard overwhelmingly is that people would like to see it be a main street for the city. They'd like it to be someplace where they could come and dine and shop and, hang out with family and friends. And also to really make it more pedestrian friendly and more pedestrian safe. That we still need to be able to move cars on the corridor, but we'd also like to see it more pedestrian friendly and someplace more appealing.
There has been some concerns by some residents and businesses that we're going to redevelop the 38th Avenue. We're going to be tearing up curb, gutter, and sidewalk and spending a lot of taxpayer money on something that may not work. This is a pilot project where we're going to restripe 38th Avenue between Depew and Upham to be from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. It'll have an hourglass shape. The idea is to restripe the street, not tear up curb, gutter, and sidewalk. Some patios may be added additional signage, but the goal is to have this as a pilot program to see how it works on 38th Avenue.
The plan calls for actually restriping the street so that we remove a lane of traffic in each direction, which is a concept called a road diet.
On my right, you'll see 2 lanes of traffic with a center turn lane and 2 lanes in both directions. What we hope to do with the short-term implementation plan is to get rid of 2 of those through lanes and transform that area into a mix of amenities, of landscape amenities, of large flower pots, and also some additional on-street parking.
We also did a very detailed traffic analysis at the beginning of the planning process to assess what a road diet might mean for 38th and ensure that we would still be able to carry cars at an adequate level through this corridor.
The traffic studies in this situation suggest that we can change the laneage without changing the through traffic, which is necessary for certain existing businesses, specifically the ones that are destination with long-term clients. We think with this plan we can sort of have our cake and eat it too on this issue.
Overall, the reaction to the road diet was very positive because people liked the idea of being able to repurpose some of what's on the street today and is used only for cars as space that could be used for pedestrians to add things like nice, wider sidewalks, as well as street trees and landscaping, amenities such as benches and street lighting. Those are in a zone we often call an amenity zone between the sidewalk and the street, which most of 38th Avenue does not have today, especially in the Main Street area between Pierce and Upham. In the long term, when we have funding available, what we'd like to do is actually move the curbs permanently and create a wider sidewalk with an amenity zone, at least in the Main Street district. This is a great example of the existing sidewalk environment on the street today, There's no amenity zone or buffer between the sidewalk and the street, so pedestrians really feel the cars and the buses whizzing by. There's also curb cuts or access points into businesses like we're on right here that interrupt the sidewalk environment and create those conflicts between pedestrians and cars. And then there's also portions of the street where there's just no sidewalk at all, like right here. So what the plan calls for is how can we improve that pedestrian environment and create a nice sidewalk environment throughout the entire Main Street area.
For the 38th Avenue Corridor Plan to be successful, we really need to see a lot of private sector investment. And what we did in the plan to help guide that investment and redevelopment was to break the plan down into districts. We're standing here in what would be the Main Street Business District, which is roughly between Upham and Newland. We already have some great successful businesses. You can see one behind me where we've seen some reinvestment in just the recent past. So we really hope to build off that and encourage business development in this area.
After the task force was created in 2010 and they met for about a year, the City Council adopted in 2011 the 38th Avenue Redevelopment Corridor Plan, which called for the creation of a leadership committee. I'm on the leadership committee along with some business owners and residents of 38th Avenue, and we are moving forward with the plans to meet with business owners, citizens, and City Council to look at different options for the 38th Avenue redevelopment plan.
What's the identity of 38th Avenue? Who we want to market to? Who are our customers? How can we reach out to people and tell people who we are, who we want to be?
Our goal is not to take property. The goal is not to impugn any other businesses along 38, but to promote them as much as we can.
What's so important about this project is we brought the community together and really heard them say, we want a place we can call our own.
It's now or never. Let's do it. Let's get involved. Let's make Wheat Ridge a place to go to, a place to be seen. I don't want people to be driving through Wheat Ridge. I want them to come to Wheat Ridge.
People have just got to take note that there is going to be a drastic change for some, a mild change for others, but a change is a change, and that's what's necessary right at the present time in order to get things going here.
There is no chicken and egg here. We have to do both things. We have to develop the identity, and we have to convince and work with the communities there that it serves their interests as we move forward.
Now, with some new businesses opening up, the for-lease signs are coming down. I think people are starting to become interested in 38th Avenue again as a corridor, a place to be seen.
We've put a lot of thought as a city into this street, into other initiatives in the city, and it's time to take action.
That's been the biggest drive, is to have what would be called a place that we can go to and say, this is our place, this is who we are, this is our Wheat Ridge.